Hello and welcome to Jim's Well Done Guitars. I'm Jim Fusco. I'm a guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, singer, and songwriter, and I'm here to share my guitar collection with the world here on YouTube because of the unique way that I'm choosing to make my collection. A lot of people collect based on specific brands or specific colors that they like, or even just specific years that they're looking for. The way that I've chosen to do it is based on a list, a very extensive list of features that I've always wanted and want somewhere in my collection. It's a list that's very specific to just me. I'm so interested to hear all of you fellow collectors out there, what it is that you want to collect and what's on your guitar bucket list. But I'm going to share the first part, the main part of the list with you now, so that you can see if any of these jive with what you want. So here's a quick look at the list as it sits currently, just going through it quickly here, but I'd love to hear what everybody else would have on their own guitar bucket list, as this is just what I have, and you'll notice that we'll add and subtract things as time goes on. So I figured it'd be a good thing to start with my first good electric guitar, which is this one right here. This is the Ibanez AM73T electric guitar. I got this probably about 20 years ago, around 2003. I didn't have any money, and was one of those things. It cost about $330 or so. I think I might have sprung a little extra for the case, and I saw it in a catalog, Musician's Friend or something like that, catalog, and just loved it. It just had this classic look to it. If you look at any of my other videos on YouTube and my original songs, you'll see that I have this kind of classic rock and roll style that I like from the 50s and 60s. And so this really screamed it to me, and obviously wasn't going to be buying the Gibson iteration of it. But I actually like this one a lot because of the shape is a little different than the Gibson variety. It's got more of a point to the horns here. It's a little smaller and a little thinner. It's pretty lightweight as well. And, you know, after 20 years, I just love how this thing is aging. It's always just been really easy to play. And it definitely checks off a few things on the guitar bucket list, which we'll get to at the end of the video. One interesting thing about this is that I decided to upgrade the sounds or the electronics on it at a time when I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know much about guitars, but I knew when I plugged this thing in that it wasn't sounding the way I hoped I should sound. And what I didn't know at the time was that it's really just due to the style of music that I play, which I do a lot of kind of like throughout the whole track rhythm guitar. And for those who know like Gibsons, that's not usually what those pickups are for. They're for kind of doing the lead throughout the song type of style. If you want to do rhythm tracks, you're probably more, at least in my opinion, better off going with like a single coil or even maybe a P90 on a Strat or a Telecaster. The problem is that, and you'll see throughout this video series, that those aren't the guitars that I like the look of. They're the guitars I like the sound of, but not the look of. And I know that there's some Les Pauls out there that do have single coils, but there's just something about that humbucker look that I like as well. But so, you know, I'm not gonna, throughout this series, I'm not gonna go full on Trogley and tear down my guitars. I'm not taking these things apart unless somebody really wants me to and has a specific question about a feature that's in them. But we will do some close-ups and some B-roll and whatnot to show you the ins and outs of the look and the feel and some of the materials. As I recall, this thing has a laminated body with a rosewood fretboard, and it's got a mother of pearl inlaid on the headstock. It's got an Ibanez tremolo unit that has that's not a Bixby or anything, but functions the same way. It's screwed into the top. And so when I had the electronics done, I went out and bought on eBay, which was fairly early for eBay, a couple of Gibson Burstbucker pickups, and they came in the clear plastic cases, and I didn't know how to install them. So I brought it to a local music store, and they installed it. I believe I also had them upgrade the pots and the switch, because the switch looks to be one of those recessed Gibson style one. So I think I just had the whole wiring harness done and the Gibson Burstbucker pickups in. And you know, it's interesting, the pickups are probably worth as much as the whole guitar is now. But even when I put these in, I mean, the change in the sound was unbelievable. I mean, it's loud, it's bright, it's punchy, but it still, at the time, wasn't, you know, doing what I wanted it to do. Because again, I didn't know what I was doing. I have since learned some of the tricks to, you know, to roll off some of the tone to make it a little less biting on some of these pickups, and to use the neck and the bridge pickup separately. At the time, I pretty much stayed right in the middle and did the blending of both. So it's funny how those things evolve over time. And that's one of the reasons that you'll see some of these features that I'm looking for in the guitar bucket list have also evolved over time. We're going to take a quick sound sample. I'm not going to go crazy and play a whole bunch of stuff. This is not a place for me to show off and try to convince people that I'm a good guitar player. That's not the point of this show or this channel. And this is just someone who writes their own songs and plays guitar for that, and just really loves guitars and is a little obsessed with knowing as much about them as possible. Okay, so just for a quick sound sample, here is the Ibanez AM73T, but loaded with Gibson Burstbucker pickups. Don't exactly remember. I believe they're 1 and 2, but I don't remember. Could be 2 and 3. And then likely the American-made electronics, due to this switch here that is recessed in like the Gibson switches are. So this is on the neck pickup. Middle. And bridge. This is being recorded through my Vox MV50 clean amp into the Two Notes torpedo captor, with the cab simulation going into the computer. I'm not using any pedals or anything like that now. Obviously, if you've got distortion pedals, you know how they color the sound. So then, just real quick, we'll do a couple of things up here on the neck. And on the bridge. So this particular guitar here, it serves a few purposes for my guitar bucket list. A semi-hollow, that's on there because I definitely wanted a semi-hollow in my collection. And you'll see that I've got a few of those of varying values. And then also the Gibson Burstbucker pickups. That was something I always wanted, whether at the time I thought I did or not. And then kind of a stupid one, but a volute on the back of the neck. I know a lot of the old Gibsons have that. Just a really, you know, kind of not necessary feature, and some of these things on the bucket list are probably really trivial, and like, why the heck would you even want that? But I did, and this one actually hasn't. It's actually the only one in my collection that does have a volute, which I thought was pretty funny. So, and then I would say that it would have the tremolo unit, but because I have others with a Bigsby, we're not gonna check off that one on for this particular guitar. So stay tuned for that. And so as we go through, there are still a few, maybe about 10 items on the list that I don't have yet. And so I'm trying to kind of circle into what guitars can check off the most of those features. You know, it might be a guitar that has a certain thing on the headstock and has a certain set of pickups that I've always wanted, or has a certain finish, but has, and also has a certain inlay. And, you know, just kind of going through, I've realized I've got about 30 electric guitars here, and we'll do one for each episode. But as we go through, I wanted to kind of realize that I can't just buy everything. I just am not gonna be one of those guys that's got 200 guitars and never touches them. So even now, I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to use them. I just recorded a new album, and if anybody's interested, it's on YouTube Music and Apple Music and Spotify, everything like that, to go listen to. But, you know, I take one of these guitars off the wall every night when we go to watch TV before bed, and, you know, I just sit with it and kind of noodle around, not even plugged in, just to get some practice in and not drive my partner crazy. And so it gives me an opportunity to kind of remember why I got all of them and to really appreciate them. And I think the last thing that I just really wanted to point out for this first episode here is that I am not a guitar broker or dealer or anything like that. I have nothing to sell you. Even my music, I don't sell to people anymore because most people have subscriptions, and if they want to check it out, they'll check it out. So this is really just a labor of love, this channel right now, and something, just a way for me to share my collection and my ultimate goal, which is to complete the guitar bucket list with all of you. And, you know, kind of spoiler alert, this list is never going to be done. I think there's always going to be something that I'm going to be adding to the list as time goes on. But that's okay, because, you know, if I did complete it, then I guess I could just kick the bucket, and I don't want to do that. So, so I hope you enjoyed this and the Ibanez AM73T as the first entry in our guitar bucket list, and I hope that you'll come back for the next episode. So at the end of episode 1, we have 3 out of 60 items on the guitar bucket list. Stay tuned to the next episode to see what we check off next.